Hello, everybody. Here we are with another installment of Biology in the Basement with your host, Mr. Andraco. I'm just getting my fact of the day here ready so that we can get started. We're going to talk about Echinoderms with Finn. Sorry if this is an unorganized mess. Don't worry, Finn. We'll get through this together as a team. So here's your fact of the day so we can get started. Turns out that hummingbirds go into a form of hibernation almost every night. It's called torpor. This puts their body into a state of hypothermia in order to save energy to keep them from dying while they try to rest in the night. Right? Their metabolism is so high that they have to constantly keep feeding, and they run the risk of dying in their sleep because they're not taking in any nutrients. They're living on such a knife's edge of energy needs. So there's a very interesting fact for you. Torpor. Okay, let's talk about echinoderms. Echinoderms actually means spiny skin, right? Echino and derm. These guys are all in the marine environment, right? Meaning the salt sea or oceans. When we talk about echinoderms, usually maybe you're thinking of starfish. There's also something called brittle stars. You may have heard of sea cucumbers, sea urchins, sand dollars, things like that. That is what an echinoderm is. It has a kind of calcified, bony covering to it. Let's see, they are invertebrates, so there's one for you. They've got that covering. Water vascular system, that's a very important term. So for your, I would say, circulatory system and respiratory system, you can put water vascular system. Also, these guys are cold-blooded, right? They move very slowly when the temperatures are cold and are much more active, right, when the temperatures are warmer, though they don't really have blood. He's got his classification. Those are all those little sea stars and things like that. That's more for my information. But like he does say, the scientists do disagree about classification. Looks like they're going to have to do some phylogeny and look into the DNA to see how closely related these guys are, to figure out where they should be classified, right? That's what we're learning about overall. Okay, so they have a very simple brain. So for the nervous system, you can say just simple brain or nerve net, which kind of is like a nerve ring that spreads out. So we just can call that a simple brain. For their sensory organs, they don't have eyes, but they can detect light. They can detect pressure, temperature, orientation, meaning they know which way is up and down, where the bottom of the ocean is to where the water level is. Other sensory organs include, no, I think that's everything. Okay, so they can be really small or really large, as big as 20 meters, right? Some of them are these just giant stars that are just creeping around on the sea floor. That's usually what they do, right? What do they eat, right? This is their diet section. They are mostly scavengers. They'll eat everything, but many of them are predators, where they'll go in and actually, it's a great video if you Google it, where a sea star can just open up a clam and just reach in and kind of pull the stuff out and digest it outside of its body. It's kind of gross and cool at the same time. But they eat pretty much everything that ends up on the sea floor. Right, like it says, they actually pull their stomach out of their body and digest it using enzymes for their digestion. So I would just put enzymes, because this is too complicated to explain in that tiny little square. So you can just write enzymes for digestive system. Okay, so this is just some of their other subcategories where they live, right? They can be found in marine environments, right? Salt water. They're not down in the Arctic, being that they are cold blooded, but they can go pretty far into depth. As far as their skeleton, this one is kind of weird. We can just say they have an internal skeleton, but this would be an example of convergent evolution where their internal skeleton is nothing like our internal skeleton, but for sake of, like I said, these little squares, we can put internal skeletons. So that covers that one. Colors, right? They can be camouflage, but many of them are also very bright. This is a great thing to Google as well, is just looking at starfish on the bottom of the ocean. But usually it's better to watch them sped up because they're pretty slow. Reproduction can be asexually, but they do reproduce sexually. They are also egg layers. What else do we got? So we got cold-blooded, egg layers, external fertilization. They do not nourish with milk, and they do not care for their young. So here are your examples. So you can pick any of these guys, right? These are the ones you normally think of, but there are also theirs. And no, Finn didn't punk me. That's not a turd. That is a sea cucumber, a real species. So that's it. Great job, Finn. That was not an unorganized mess. That was fully informational. So thank you very much. Signing off.